Hey, how the heck did you get there?
Yo, why are you staring at my crotch?
Expansion content is nothing new. Even the term DLC is old, just like us.
Now there's something to think about.
It's been around as long as I remember, even in my younger days, back when I played Age of Empires, Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and The Sims 1. Expansion content was a big part of those experiences.
But in those days, it was just called The Sims. Like the PlayStation 1 was just called The PlayStation, and the Xbox One was called a mistake.
It was always awesome hearing about some expansion coming to a game I already loved. Whenever I found out about more content coming to a game I enjoyed playing, I would get a huge fat smile on my boner. Expansion content is content that is supposed to build upon and add new possibilities to already existing game titles, be it a new character, a new story arc, new maps, different gameplay, or even a completely different world to explore. It gave my Sims the chance to become rock stars, go on holidays, and achieve my dreams, instead of being a shut-in like I was in real life. It gave me and my brothers more maps and scenarios to conquer in Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and it gave us the option to play as the Palmyrans, Macedonians, Carthaginians, and Romans in Age of Empires. Although none of them were my civilization of choice, it was still nice having the options available. The way it used to work was once a developer was done with a game, they would either move on to the next game, close down their studio, or sometimes, if a game seems profitable enough, they will try to get more money out of that title by developing new expansion content for it. Many games would have you purchase the base game, and then buy an additional box disc containing the game expansion content. It wasn't until later in the story that downloading the expansion content from the World Wide Web became a reality. So, move the story forward to the time when technology has advanced and we've reached a stage where we no longer have to play World of Warcraft. A time when we no longer have to go to a store and hope that they have stock of the expansion content we want.
Don't you have anything good?
No.
To a time when we could finally just download the content directly from the websites to our gaming consoles. This was great for gaming companies, as they could add content to their games without having to release a whole new shelved version, and ended up saving them money, as they could resell the same piece of digital content over and over without fear of running out. At first, these advancements gave developers a way to update games and fix some of the problems they might have missed in order to provide the best experience possible. But as time went on, something sinister stuck its hand into companies such as Bethesda and ER and Ubisoft, and Bethesda again, because they always do this. More and more companies started releasing more and more broken games with a promise of fixing them in a future update.
But that's a topic for another video. Oh wait, didn't I talk about this already?
Growing up, I never had good access to the internet.
And my mom says I turned out fine.
Buying a digital game used to cost me twice the price, as I had to buy the data to download it as well. So, with a lot of games, it would cost cheaper to buy the game and then sell it to buy the Game of the Year edition the next year. The Game of the Year edition was awesome, as I knew that there would be substantial additional content, usually already included on the disc. The transaction felt fair, as I wanted more of the thing that I liked, and I got that by paying a price that I felt was worth it. Fallout 3 had whole new areas to explore, some that felt very different from the rest of the game, such as the pit that put you in the shoes of a slave, or Operation Anchorage, which has you play a virtual reality game inside of the game, or even Mothership Zeta that added an alien spaceship to explore and escape from before you get probed. Borderlands added a new zombie-infested island, new missions, new areas, new enemies, and me and my brother's personal favorite edition, Mad Moxie's Underdome, that added a new arena-style challenge to the game, where you have to survive waves of enemies. All of this extra content felt like substantial pieces that build upon already complete experiences.
So, what's your problem with DLC then?
What's my problem? What's my problem? I'll tell you what my problem is. It all started when companies took something as beautiful as expansion content and added a little bit of greed to the mix.
For a while, it seemed that the world was heading in the right direction for once. But then things started changing. It is difficult to pinpoint the exact catalyst for what came next. But a lot of people like to reference MapleStory, which was apparently not made by the Canadians. The game features gotcha mechanics. You know, those machines with the balls, where you insert a coin and twist it, but then it swallows your coin and you're left with nothing? Well, sometimes you find ones that work in places like Japan, and they give you a random ball with some toy or collectible item, or sometimes candy, or a smaller ball. But that's not important right now. What is important is that MapleStory took those mechanics and gave you the opportunity to use your hard-earned money to gain some random item in the game. MapleStory was quite successful in doing this, and the wrong people took note of it. Then, a lot of people like to reference the horse armor in Oblivion at this point in the story. The horse armor in Oblivion is an okay looking cosmetic armor for your horse, but provides no real additional benefits except for giving your horse a little bit more health and making it look baller. It was sold as a separate piece of DLC, and as always, people bought it. We were still young and innocent and new to the concept of DLC, so we didn't know what we were doing. But you know what? I'm not even going to mention the horse armor from Oblivion, or that I like that game at all. In fact, just forget everything I've said about Oblivion till now. Companies realized that they can make some extra money with minimal effort by selling smaller items instead of selling a fuller expansion experience. They started breaking up bigger experiences into smaller chunks. Instead of taking months to develop new cool content and selling you a whole new experience, companies broke up the characters, scenarios, mechanics, and items and started selling them all separately, and people bought into it. But then, when that wasn't enough for them anymore, they figured out that they could instead start cutting smaller pieces out of the game and sell it to you on top of the base game's price. Games like Mass Effect 3 would have a character and his storyline removed due to
time constraints,
and then somehow find the time to include the character and his assets on the game's disc. Yet, repackage the cut content as paid DLC, which was released alongside the base game on launch day.
Oh no, that's it. I'm calling the police.
When did this become okay, and how did Day 1 DLC even become a thing?
Please tell me, cause I'm not exactly sure.
If the content is available upon release, then why is it separate from the main experience, and why do you even have to pay extra for it? Look, if people want their special costumes for their characters, then let them have it, but don't cut away from the content or experience of a game and make others lose out on what the game has to offer. If you feel that your game is too cheap, then raise the price, but then in turn, make sure that the experience is worth it to the player. Keeping content away from players just because they didn't pre-order a game or only managed to pick it up a month later is kind of a crappy move. But that's a whole nother topic for a different day.
Are you done yet?
Not yet.
There's also another route that companies have taken with cut content, and that's free DLC. I won't mention any guilty parties, but one of their names rhymes with Nintendo. They would rush out games like Mario Golf, Mario Strikers, and Animal Crossing, and then add the missing content later through free DLC in the form of updates. This is said to give a game a longer lifespan, but in reality, it just makes people have a lesser experience for playing it at launch. Sometimes this method does work, but usually it is when already completed games add more instead of players having to have a lesser experience until later. Animal Crossing New Horizons got released in a state that felt unfinished, as there was a lot of content and features such as swimming that were present in previous entries that was missing at the launch of New Horizons. The title was fun nonetheless, but it having been a less popular title in the past made this a risky move, as it could have sunk if it was released in this state at any other given time in our timeline. But that is another topic, including a gorilla. Mario sports games feel like they suffer the most, as they usually feel lackluster at the start, and then get better with time.
Sometimes.
And although some of them have become better over time, they never managed to have the impact they could have if a company that rhymes with Nintendo just remembered to make it fun at least. As I've said before,
A turkey that cooks long enough can eventually be enjoyed, but a raw turkey will give you salmonella.
Something else I hate is when a game deliberately throws it in your face when you haven't purchased the DLC yet. My son got Dragon Ball FighterZ for his birthday, and one of the most annoying things is the amount of DLC characters in the roster. I get that it is just a placeholder, and that it is cool that they added so much extra content to the game, but having it constantly stare you in the face as it overpowers the selection of available characters feels quite messed up. In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you wouldn't even know that certain DLC characters existed unless you play online or go to the DLC section. On the other hand, in Pokemon Sword and Shield, as well as Scarlet and Violet, you get a friendly reminder that you don't own the DLC every time you open the menu.
Get your fucking DLC out of my face.
Having content thrown in your face like that the whole time makes it feel like this version of a game you're playing is incomplete and makes me want to play it less, as I will be missing out on so much anyway. The industry is corrupt and games suffer due to it. It is not always the game developers' fault. Sometimes they try their best to give us games worth playing, but end up being forced by greedy higher powers to either cut corners or cut content from something they started passionate about. The only way to stop this DLC parasite that infests our games is to
cut off its head,
or to show them that we won't take it by not buying an incomplete game. But that hasn't worked out so great thus far, as we keep buying the games we want. And that's alright. Look, not all DLC is bad. Some still offer exactly what they're supposed to by giving us more of what we love. But when companies start taking the short route by cutting content away from the full experience, we need to start taking a stand, or else we'll end up with sports games where they sell us the players in random blind packs, and we'll end up thinking that's okay.
Wait, what's this? Oh no, I'm already too late. It's already come full circle. Because soccer balls are round?
What the hell is up with sports games?
They don't even have David Beckham on the cover anymore.
When did we decide that this is okay? Making gamers pay extra money to unlock characters to add to their team is the dumbest thing I've ever heard a FIFA player do, and I've heard them do a lot of dumb stuff before, such as purchasing the same game every year.
Not me. I've got my own special way to update it.
Of course, people who love a franchise and love the sports will end up spending money to try and unlock their favorite character, and they all have a right to do so. But in the end, it makes more and more good players drop out of a loop because they don't want to deal with the hassle, and then you end up playing against a bunch of paying noobs online, and you think that you have become good with the game, but then you go to your friend's house and their little brother whips your ass at FIFA on Xbox 360, and you end up having to spend more money on therapy in the end.
That's how they get you!
Over the years, sports games have gained a worse and worse reputation due to some of these practices. Yet year after year, they remain profitable due to it. Somewhere along the way, expansion content stopped meaning an expansion to an already good game, and instead started meaning to fix or complete a lesser experience. We can't stop people from buying the things that they feel are important to them, and they don't have to. I've purchased games that I will never even play, but I can, and I am the one who will have to deal with it. But if we don't eventually all decide that we've reached a point where we say enough is enough, we will eventually end up paying for gun triggers in Call of Duty and for the ball in FIFA.
Can't you just give me the DLC for free?
No.
Why not?
I've got a family to feed.
But I saved your village from a dragon!
I don't remember that.
Well then go watch my video about it. Okay fine, here you go.
Here's your 100 kilobyte download file.
Finally! Now I can get home.
Wait, you forgot about the terms and conditions.